So you came to this video thinking I was gonna give advice on how to never get hurt in a relationship. That was a trick. I did that as an example to demonstrate one thing. People lie. People are shady in relationships. And most people, when they lie, they also try to do this really cool, awesome thing, but they try to manipulate you too. Now, you might be in a relationship right now and things are great and you two are in a field and spinning around in slow motion and you fall back on a pile of leaves like they do in the commercials. I hope things stay like that. Nothing makes me happier than when I see two people in a relationship and things are working perfectly. But in the not so perfect relationships, I've seen people mess things up so bad and they try to turn around and convince the other person that it's their fault. Let me tell you why that is. Because nobody wants to be the villain and everybody wants to be the victim. You go to most people who just went through a breakup and you ask them, hey, what happened? You know what both parties are going to say about the other person? It's the same answer almost every time. Oh, they were crazy. I would hear that excuse so much, I started saying no, like, more specifically, what does that mean? Man, she was just, it was like, she was just psycho, man. What does that mean? She was psycho, bro. I know a guy who cheated on the same girl multiple times, and when they finally broke up, you know what the guy's excuse was? I just couldn't take it anymore, man. She had huge commitment issues. You think? You got with 3 other girls while y'all were going out. Nobody wants to be the villain. Everybody want to be the victim. You know that scene in Star Wars Episode 3 when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting on the lava and Anakin's like, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. Hello, genius, you just killed a room full of elementary school kids. Every time I watch that scene, I get these flashbacks of girls who have led me on and lied to me and turn around and call me all kind of names and then cast me as the bad guy. Fellas, you could treat your woman like crap or you could treat them like a princess. Either way, I'm gonna tell you this right now. When a girl gets out of a relationship, there is one thing that all her girlfriends just can't wait to say. They've been standing there waiting for weeks with their hands folded, just waiting to say this one line. You know what it is? Girl, I don't know why you put up with him for so long. You know what? Let your ex's friends think whatever they want. The one thing you make sure never to do is never get sucked into that huge post-relationship fight or argument. And I think human beings just secretly like to fight. You look at some of these breakup fights and it's almost like you're watching an episode of Power Rangers because they're both out in the middle of the street, they're throwing cars at each other, and when somebody gets hit, those fake sparks go flying everywhere. You're just waiting for the White Ranger to swoop in and start playing his flute. People start yelling, people start cursing. It takes 2 to tango, and yes, some of you ladies secretly love the heat of battle. I figured it out. Why do you think so many girls play Call of Duty? Because of the high poly count and the graphics and the detailed textures and the attention to detail? No. If you ever find yourself in a nasty breakup and the other person is spreading rumors about you or sending you nasty text messages, my advice to you is always be the mature one. You will come out a better person on the other end.
So there you go. Everything you need to know about relationships in a nutshell. There in that video. Not exactly, but we are starting tonight talking about dating. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, this week's going to be a little bit more broad, okay, and kind of big idea stuff that we're going to build on as we tackle the more practical side of relationships in the weeks to come. Okay, but before we get there, we kind of have to lay like a good foundation to build on, all right? So this is kind of a why lesson for the how lesson that comes after next week and the week after that. But as we begin talking about dating, I want to ask you a question, okay? So just straight up, just a straight question. Like, what is the purpose of a dating relationship? To see if you're going to marry her, okay, or him, I guess, to find a potential dating partner or a marriage partner, anything else? Well, why else do people date? It's fun, okay? Like to have fun. What else would people date? When a guy and a girl, would they go out on a date? Why else? They feel lonely. They need some validation. They want somebody to be their friend. Some people, that's the only way they can get friends is to have a boyfriend or girlfriend, huh? Because they're just socially awkward or whatever. What else? What are the purposes of dating relationships?
They want a Valentine's Day present.
They want a Valentine's Day present. Boy, I better get me some chocolates. You know, like, I don't know, did they do this when y'all were in high school? When I was in high school, they did like where you could like send like, you know, what are their like heartgrams or whatever, and like all the girls would always send like Valentine's Day gifts to each other. you know? And I never got this because they were like, oh, you're so sexy, you know, and then they would like send each other candy. And it's like, oh, you don't have a man to send it to you, so I'm gonna send it to you because you're still, you know, fierce or whatever, you know, whatever, blah, 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 you know, like whatever it was. Like I never really got that. Like the whole point of that is for guys to be like, hey, I think you're cute as a fundraiser, you know, but I never got why people would send them to themselves. But yeah, people date because of status. Sometimes, you know, if you date the right person, you kind of get included into a certain group of people. And so sometimes a lot of people look and say, I want to date one of those people because that means I'll be one of the cool people, right? Some people, straight up, like let's just be honest, we know these people exist. Some people just want to date because they know that's the inroad for sex. Like, listen, if I'm ever going to get that girl, I got to like put in some work up front. So I'm going to have to like, you know, schmooze her and take her out on a couple dates. You know, I'll even pay for it. Like that's like a big deal, all right? But then there's that expectation that at the end, I'm going to get something in return, right? Sometimes it's just social. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure, like maybe all your friends are dating. And so they're like, well, what's wrong with you? Why do you not have a boyfriend? Why do you not have a girlfriend, right? And so it's just a social thing. But the interesting thing to me is there is a ton of pressure to date, especially in high school. And it comes from a lot of different areas, right? It comes from your friends, it comes from yourself. Maybe someone that you like a lot, like is like putting pressure on you. Like, look, if you like me, you know, the high school version, if you like it, put a ring on it, you know, like, come on, like, if you really are into me, I really want, and they'll try to pressure you into asking them out. I know girls who have like played this game and they'll like back you into a corner and be like, what now? Ask me out. I'll say yes, just do it. And you're like, okay, I'm sorry. Will you go out with me? They're like, yes. You know, it's like evil, like face thing going. That actually happened to me once, but that's a whole different story. But here's the thing that's interesting. Despite all the pressure, did you know that like 50% of high school students go all the way through high school without ever having one date, without ever having a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like that's kind of weird because most of the time, like going through high school, like you would automatically assume that everyone has a boyfriend or girlfriend at some point in time. But statistics show that at least half of students go through their entire high school career and not have a single date. And I say that just to say this, okay? Like just because there's pressure doesn't mean there's something wrong if you don't date. All right? We're talking about dating because it's something that's very practical to our lives, and especially where you guys are. It's not really practical to my life. I don't date anymore. I mean, I date my wife, I guess technically. We go on dates and we hang out, and I still have to like make her love me ever so often. But you know, like overall, like that's done. But for you guys, like dating's a really big thing. But just because a lot of people are dating doesn't mean you've missed the curve, because you might not be. Okay? So that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Doesn't mean there's something right with you because you're not. It's level playing ground, okay? But here's the thing. That was not the case for me. We've talked about this multiple times in different series, my relationship blunders and all the different things. You know, we've talked about how I won a class superlative one year for most likely to date anything with 2 legs and boobs, right? That was the award I was given at like class awards day. And I wore that badge with pride. I was like, yeah, that's right, you know? And I kind of had a reputation. I worked all the way through high school, worked all the way through college, and I had a reputation at work for if there was a new girl there, Nate would ask her out on a date. Like that was just the way it was. And like it would always ended up being super awkward because we'd go out on a date or a couple dates and then things would get weird and be like, oh, yep, they went out on a date. Everyone knew because it's just like, it was just one of those things. That was what I was known for. I was all about girls and basketball. Girls and basketball. I have my priorities right, you know, and that's just the way. You guys are nodding, yep, that right on, yep. So girls and basketball. But here's the thing. If you think about it, as much pressure as there is to date, and if dating really is, like we talk about like the first thing that everyone's kind of like, yeah, that's what dating's for, is to find a potential mate. Like the reality is between high school and marriage, there's a huge gap, right? There's a huge gap between high school and when we actually get married. Right? I mean, for most of us, for some people, they get married at like 14, you know, or whatever. And I mean, I guess that's their thing, okay? But yeah, here's kind of just a diagram. This is really simple. Don't let my graphics skills blow your mind. But okay, so here's high school, and here's marriage, and here's all this space. There's all this space kind of in between, from between now and then. And all of us have some sort of idea what we want marriage to be like, all right? We all have some kind of idea of what it should be like, what it would look like, how it'll happen, how it'll take place or whatever. But it just seems like way in the future. Mostly because for most of us, It is kind of way in the future. But here's kind of the dreams. For girls, when it comes to marriage, they kind of have these kind of dreams, okay? Let's go just a couple of these. You know, the beautiful, like, I mean, this dude, like, I mean, every hair is like chiseled just perfectly, and he's got just enough stubble to be like, I used to be a bad boy, but now I'm nice, right? And he's got the sideburns, and they're just all having this wonderful, tender moment here on the beach, and it's just wonderful and romantic. Let's go to the next one. Here we got the nice, like, wealthy, like, I would be intimidated going to this wedding reception. I'd be like, I don't belong here. This is very awkward. There's all kinds of gold stuff. Even the dude's hair is gold, okay? So, like, that just makes me feel awkward. But for some people, like, when you think about your wedding, for girls, you're like, oh, the big princess, the castle. We went to this wedding one time. Literally, it was like this, it was like in a big warehouse, but it was like designed to give like that fairy tale kind of, you remember this, Brittany? Like, it was like this, it was when we were in Tampa. It was like that big, like, before you went into the reception, you had to go through like the enchanted forest. Like, I'm not even kidding, okay? Not even kidding. There was like low-lying fog all through it and like lights changing colors and all these like leaves and trees and all this different stuff. Do you remember this? Yeah. And like, of course, there was like an open bar and people were like, woo, yeah, awesome, you know, or whatever. But like, it was just super. And then you go into the big rehearsal or the big hall and there's a big castle. And the husband and the wife, they're sitting at the top of the castle. The guy's wearing a crown, you know, and it's like they're princess and, you know, king and queen or whatever, you know, and it was super awkward because anytime you looked at them, you had to do like this, you know, because they're like way up high, this whole thing. And anyway, it was just there's this idea of princesses and like, this is my big moment. It's all about the bride, right? And so we have these dreams, like these big weddings, and maybe that fits your idea, maybe it doesn't. That's not everybody's, but generally speaking, when a girl thinks about marriage, these are the first things that come to her mind, all right? It's all about the big day. Now, guys, your dreams are a little bit more basic and involve a whole lot less. They look a little bit more like this, okay? That's what a guy thinks of when it comes to a wedding. When it comes to marriage, this is the only thing that matters for the most part. Like, get us to that day, everything else is fine. All right? That's what we're thinking about. The whole time have your fairy tale, enchanted forest, princess, whatever. At the end of the day, this is what I'm looking forward to. And so we all have some of our dreams. We kind of have our ideas about what we'd like to think about marriage. And if we set it this way, there's still a lot of space between, like, you know, marriage and high school. But imagine if you had a Facebook page. I know we're in this Facebook series, so I know you guys don't use Facebook, but let's just say you did, okay? And you had a page that was titled My Future Marriage. And like on this page, whether it's like Pinterest or something, you just posted all this different stuff that like you were kind of planning for your wedding, okay? What would you post there? Guys and girls, obviously it would be different, all right? But here's the thing. Whatever you would post, you're actually posting to that page every single day of your life. Every single day, through the choices that you make and the steps that you take through your daily decisions, you are posting every day and taking steps toward the person that you are going to be in that marriage relationship. It doesn't happen way off in the future. You don't have this idea of who I'm going to be, and then when that day comes, everything magically falls into place. I got news for you. You get married, the quirks of that person are always going to be the quirks of that person, okay? The things that annoy me about Brittany today still annoy me about her to this day, and she knows that. But I'm okay with that, all right? It's important to know that if there are things that are driving you crazy about that person, the marriage, putting the rings on, spending a week in Mexico staring at the ceiling doesn't make everything else magically disappear. When you come back to reality, everything goes back to exactly the way it was. You're still that person, you're still that girl, you're still that guy, and now you're in a committed marriage relationship. You don't just magically open your eyes one day and everything's wonderful. And it's like, oh, hey, dear, how are you? Oh, I love you, dear. You know, and everything's all nice and prim and proper, and you've got this nice house and all these different things. It just doesn't happen that way. To get to that picture of marriage, you have to prepare for that from day one. Every step you take, every decision that you make, every person that you date along the way is preparing you for what that final idea of marriage is really going to look like. And no matter what your best intentions are, if your steps don't match what you're trying to get to, you're not going to be where you think you're going to end up when it comes to marriage. And the reality is that every day we're taking steps towards that person. And we have two options, okay, that we can take. We have two options to choose how we fill the space between high school and marriage, okay? Here's the two options. One, I can take steps that are guided by the world's values, okay? Or two, I can take steps that are guided by the ways of Jesus. Now, spoiler, okay, this is church. You guys know where I'm going, okay? Like, this is not going to be a surprise. But let's talk about this for a second. We're going to sit here and just kind of like talk about this for a second. But how do we take steps guided by the world's values, okay? Because none of us would set out being like, I want to wreck my life, right? I want to follow the world's values and I want to have regrets and things that I wish I didn't have. No one sets out and says, yes, that's me. So we have to recognize how those actually take place. And so we have to pay attention because it's subtle, all right? And here's how it works. First step, watch the world's values, okay? Watch the world's values. Now, this isn't just about TV. This is through music, friends, culture, okay, whatever. But let's just stick with TV for a second. If you pick a TV show that you watch a lot, okay, whether that's The Walking Dead, right? Love The Walking Dead. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, I know that's not like a real relevant show anymore. It used to be kind of a big deal. It's like, oh my gosh, the Kardashians. But anyway, The Big Bang Theory, okay? Modern Family, something like that. Listen, the more you engage in the decisions that are portrayed on those shows, all right, the morality that's either there or not there all begins to filter into our lives, all right? So as we're engaging in it, as we're watching it, all right, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't watch it. That's not this conversation. I'm just saying as you begin to engage in those things, if it's your friends, the friends that you hang out with, the decisions that they make, all right, the conversations that they have, as you spend more time in those and you're involved in those and you're around those things, even though you may not make the same decisions as someone on TV or one of your friends or what the music that you're listening to suggests that you should do, okay, whether or not you do it, over time, as you begin to engage in those things, what begins to happen is the next step is that we begin to embrace the world's values. Well, one of the things, and this is kind of just a funny clip, I won't go through the whole thing. I watch Saturday Night Live a lot, mostly because it has a really good thumb on pop culture and kind of the going just stuff that people think about and stuff. So I find a lot of interesting stuff on that show. I'm not recommending that you should watch it or anything like that. I'm just saying, listen, I do. Anyway, I came across this clip just real quick. We're going to show just a brief section of it.
That's crazy, right?
Come on, I'm so sick of this video.
What do you?
Who is Sasha Club, and why is she thinking about you?
Hey, come on, baby. That's just my colleague. You know, that's what that is.
Whatever.
You really gonna leave with my family here?
Dad says, sis says, hey, mom says, why, and brother says, wow, cousin says, money, nephew says, wang, and my grandfather smells gas. Aunt says, uncle is loud, grandmother says, oh my hip, but there's one sound that y'all should know. What does my girl say?
Okay, we're gonna get there in a minute. So here's the thing that cracks me up about that video, and like there's a common thread, a common thought that it's completely normal, all right, for guys to have like other side relationships, and the girl is the one that's annoying because they're going, what's going on? Like that's a normal thing now. Like that's something that's just assumed in culture. It's so popular. I mean, how many songs can we talk about that we've gone through, maybe you've heard, that's all about like, girl got in my phone, oh no, I'm in trouble, you know, or whatever, or like, I got in your phone and I see blah, you know. I mean, like how many songs have we heard about that, right? And it would be dumb to pretend like that doesn't affect our perception on anything, because over time, we begin to believe that that is actually a normal thing. Like you should expect the fact that your guy is going to cheat on you and you need to be checking in his phone all the time to find out what's really going on, because his nature is to hide it from you, and that's just guys being stupid. Or it's just guys getting, all these different things. It becomes a deal where we begin to embrace the values. We might not sign up for them and say that like I follow the same actions right away, but we begin to be okay with it. We begin to understand it. Like I can see where they're coming from there, I guess. I understand what's going on. And we see it as a part of culture, or just the way things are now. Things have changed. That's how things are now. And over time, we inch closer and inch closer until we end up following after them. We begin to adopt it as our own, and we begin to believe that it really is normal for couples to fight all the time, and then somehow it's romantic, or they should always have to check the other's phone to make sure they're not cheating. It's normal normal and okay for guys to engage in pornography because it keeps them from acting out and hurting others. On and on I could go. But listen, the more we engage with culture and the more countercultural that the further culture gets from the truth of God's Word, we have to be very, very careful. Because in the midst of all of that, if we allow ourselves to continually just be bombarded and ingested and all that stuff before long, when once we would have been like, no, that's not what this is all about. Over time, we begin to say, well, I don't know if it's really that big of a deal. Well, I mean, like, what are the chances of me finding someone that's not going to be like this? What are the chances of me finding someone that's not going to already have this kind of past? What are my options? Because I'm looking out and what I'm seeing is not what I thought I would find. And over time, it's just little steps and little steps. The more we engage in the world's values and the more we begin to embrace the world's values, the more they begin to ease into our lives and we begin to follow them. And suddenly, what was just something in media or a part of culture and we weren't a part of now becomes a part of our regular everyday life. And the kicker is this, that inevitably, the results are the same. Results are the same. Life's circumstances become predictable because they follow a preset pattern that we've been immersing ourselves in. This is crazy. Like I'm all the time like trying to keep up with new music and know what's going on. And I realize that Britney Spears is not, like relevant these days. You guys are like, oh, have you heard the new Britney album? Okay. Like there's only a certain set of demographics that actually listen to Britney music at this point. Okay. But the point remains, she's got a new CD coming out. And there's a song that's on a pre-release CD. It's called Perfume. It's the name of the song, Perfume. Okay. And here's the deal. Basically, this is what she's saying in the song in the minute 30 preview that I heard on iTunes. Okay. I didn't buy it. Okay. But here's what it said. Basically, I know you're cheating on me. So I'm going to make sure I get my perfume all over you so that when you go to see her, she's going to smell my perfume. That's so stupid, okay? But listen, that's where our culture is. And unfortunately, if we begin to follow this progression, we'll begin to see these things play out in our lives. We'll see those results end up in our lives. It's the reality of our culture. And if you follow the flow of our culture when it comes to relationships, guess what? Your relationships are not going to be any different than Joe Blow down the street. The parties every weekend, has sex every other afternoon when their parents aren't home, and blah, blah, blah. Like you're headed for the same exact results as they are. There's no difference, okay? Think of it this way. Certain actions lead to certain predictable results, okay? Case in point, you guys know I love McDonald's double quarter pounders with cheese. Like we've talked about this before. Like I went today preparing this lesson. I was like, oh, double quarter pounders with cheese. I called Brittany. I was like, hey, you want to go to McDonald's? I was super excited about it. Like I was just like craving it. So we went, okay? And like we've talked about this on multiple occasions, but here's a few pictures. This is me eagerly anticipating my double quarter pounder with cheese, and then the favor of me. Let's just leave this here for a second because this is gorgeous. This is me enjoying a double quarter pounder with cheese. Now here's the thing. I love these things, all right? They're amazing, all right? But if I eat one of these for every meal, the results are predictable, aren't they? Like you know what's going to happen. I'm going to end up looking something like this, okay? Like if I eat a double quarter pounder with cheese every day, this is going to be me before long, all right? I'm already working on it down here, but like it could work its way up, and this could be me if I ate every day for the rest of my life. And here's the thing. We look at this and we go, yeah, but the truth carries through. If we listen to the world's values, if we buy into the world's values, if we embrace the world's values, if we make them a part of our lives, guess what? The world's results are our results. It's predictable. You can see it played out every single day. And if you model your life after that, your life is going to model the same exact thing. You can look around at most relationships today and see the results of the world's values on relationships. And here's the thing. All of us would probably admit it's not a place where we want to be. When you dream of that final marriage relationship that you have for the rest of your life, do you want it to look like some of the relationships that you've seen play out? Would you say, ooh, I like that relationship. That one was terrible. That guy cheated on her like 15 times. They got divorced. They've got 3 kids. She doesn't have a job. That's what I want. That's my dream marriage. No, none of us would want that. But when we build our lives around the reality of I'm going to embrace the world's culture, I'm going to embrace what the world says is true about relationships, we can expect similar results. They may not be that extreme. They may be even more extreme. But we have examples that we can look back. And so the other option, the only other option is to have our steps guided by the ways of Jesus. And it takes on a drastically different look. We're just going to speed hit these real quick. Look what Jesus says. He says, come be my disciple. All right? He says, I'll show you different values. I will help you, okay? And you'll learn a new way of living, loving, and relating. God says, listen, I'm going to show you a different path, all right? I'm going to show you a different way that will lead to different results, all right? Look at Matthew 4:19 here. Jesus called out to them. He's talking to the disciples. You may remember this story. They're out fishing, all right, just doing normal fisherman stuff, all right? And Jesus called out to them and says, come follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people. You're like, what does that have to do with anything? Jesus was saying, come follow me and I'm going to show you something drastically different. I'm going to show you something so different and so much better that it's going to be what you want, and when you get it, you will be so fulfilled. Because the disciples were designed, they were made to follow Jesus, to then carry His message throughout the world after His death. That's what they were designed for. And Jesus said, hey, listen, I know you think you got it all settled out in your boat, fishing, getting fish, and this is like all you've known, and this seems like the normal thing, and this is what everybody else is doing. You've got your vocation, that's great. But I want to show you something different that's going to lead to drastically different results. It's going to lead you somewhere else in life. I'm going to show you what I have designed for you. All right? And you'll be so happy. I remember there was a time I was working at Target, and it's like this. I don't know. It's dark outside, maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. It's dark outside. And the power just goes off, okay? The generators, everything. Store is pitch black. I don't know if you've ever been and thought about it inside a store like Target, Walmart. Walmart's a little bit different because they have skylight and stuff. But within Target, there's no windows anywhere, anywhere. You got the front windows, right? But once you get into the store, there's no windows, all right? The emergency lights were off. It was pitch black. Pitch black. The registers weren't working. Nothing. People were freaking out, all right? Because, literally, it's so dark, you stick your hand out in front of your face, you can't see it. That's how dark it was. And so one of my jobs, I had to get a flashlight. I'm going down the aisle going hey, anybody, right? It was chaos, just pure chaos. It is and it gets quiet. It gets really quiet. And you can hear, if you would clap your hands, you can hear echo, and it sounds like it's coming from the other side of the store. And so it sounds like there's somebody down there, even though there's not. It's just you. It's the creepiest thing in the world when you're at a store like that and everything just shuts down, comes to a grinding halt. It was pure panic, all right? Finally, one of our maintenance guys came, and they were able to get things back on. And when the light came back on, there was an eruption of applause. Everybody was "Whoa, yeah! I'm gonna get my groceries now," and all this different stuff. There was this big celebration, okay? And here's the thing. When you're trapped in darkness, light is a really big deal. When you're trapped and you can't see what's going on, you don't know what is happening around you, to have a light is a big deal. I'm super happy. I got this little pen the other day in the mail, wanting us to buy some for the church. But it's got this little LED light on the end. I'm just oh, that's so cool. It's not I'm out placing them That's cool. Anyway, it's actually a terrible pen, but it has a light on the end of it, so I'm really excited about it. But here's the thing, okay? When you're trapped in darkness, light is a big deal. And this is what Jesus is referring to. Again, Matthew 4:16. Look what he says here. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And for those who lived in the land where death cast its shadow, a light has shined. Okay? He's talking about himself, talking about Jesus himself coming. He's like, listen, for people trapped in the darkness, they've seen a great light. They now see the difference. And then he follows up a chapter later in Matthew 5:14, and he says, you are the light of the world. All of this to say, follow me, and you don't have to live in darkness and in fear, because I'm the light. In the context of relationships, I have designed relationships. You have no idea how relationships are supposed to work. Guess what? I orchestrated them. I orchestrated every little piece of DNA, every little chemical, every little thing that goes on in your body that it builds up desire in you to have a relationship. I know how all of it works. I know why all of it works. I know how it's supposed to work. I am the light. And I can show you a way that's drastically different. I'm going to shine a light in the darkness. If you follow the values of the world, you're going to be wandering in darkness, and it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. There's a haunted house in Niagara Falls, and it's called the Nightmares Fear Factory. Have you ever heard about it? It's actually a really cool place. I've never actually physically been. Would love to go sometime if I actually make it up to Niagara Falls. I don't know if I'll ever make it up there, but I would love to go. And here's the thing. At one point in their haunted house, there's some crazy stuff that goes on, something that's really scary, and there's the strobe lights and all that stuff. And while that's going on, they sneak photos of the people in the haunted house. Kind of like, when you ride a roller coaster, and you're going down the hill and they snap pictures and you're like, kind of whatever. That kind of same deal that you can buy. But they publish them all online. This haunted house's claim to fame is that they keep a running tab of how many people they have literally scared out. Like they've been so scared, like they bailed out. And right now it's 120-some thousand people that have been so scared that they just couldn't even finish it. They were like, I'm done, okay? But I got a couple pictures, just thought that we'd show these to you real quick. I just love some of these faces. Yeah. That poor guy, his ears are ringing, he's just like, no! Look at this guy. Oh, look at this one. This is my personal favorite. I just love his face. He's like, no! Bunch of dudes here freaking out. That guy, he's just terrified. This face, this is sheer horror right here. It's just Wah! Right? And then here's all these tough dudes, and they're all clinging to each other for dear life. And then this is just another one. I have no idea what they saw, okay? But they show videos of it, and through the infrared or whatever, it's the night vision or whatever, you can see it green, all of a sudden stuff starts flashing, they're all like, ah! I would love to know what's on the other side. I want to go just so I can know what they're scared. Yeah, probably just something really simple. But here's the thing. Darkness is scary. Darkness is very scary. Even people that don't scare easy, all right? Like darkness can be very intimidating. But God has said, listen, I've brought light. I'm shedding light on this situation, on this issue in our lives. So we have to choose our steps. We have to choose our steps. Now, if we choose a worldly path, it'll look something like this, okay? Revenge. All right? That's a very simple thing, all right? You hurt me, I'll hurt you. That's a pretty typical thing when it comes to relationships. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back equally, if not more. Check out this video here.
Have you ever been cheated on?
Honey, I'm...
Babe, it's not what it looks like. We're just friends.
Unfortunately, there's never been any real consequences for your lying, skanky, trifling, no good, backstabbing significant other until now.
Introducing Video Game Revenge! If the person you're dating or married to cheats on you, don't take matters into your own hands. You could face serious fines or even jail time.
Simply call the number below, give us the person's name, their home address, and their work address,
and we'll go beat the living crap out of them. We offer a variety of video game themed revenge packages. Our newest and most popular is the Grand Theft Auto Package, where we take out their most prized possession with extreme prejudice.
That's my neighbor's car. That's my boyfriend's car. I heard the lady that lives here cheated on her husband, and he called Video Game Revenge, got the Call of Duty package. They came and threw a grenade through her window.
Wait, Jason, isn't this your house?
It sure is. Thanks, Video Game Revenge.
Are you tired of ratchet girls sending your boyfriend Snapchat pictures all day long? It's so annoying. Are you tired of your girlfriend hiding her screen every time she texts someone back? Urgh.
Every time I come in here and I see you on that computer, you're always on that skank's Facebook page.
Babe, it's a sticker? I couldn't even remove it if I wanted to.
Are you cheating on me?
I'm not even on Facebook. This picture is like of a spaceship or something.
The days of looking like an untrusting, overprotective psycho are over. We can hack their social media and their phones to find out if they really are cheating on you. If you've ever been cheated on, post this video on Facebook, like it on YouTube, or tweet it, and you'll instantly receive 30% off.
And trust us, nothing will scare the crap out of your ex more than seeing this video pop up in their feed. They'll be watching their backs for days.
But wait, if you call within the next 15 minutes, you'll be eligible for our premium package, Ninjas! Snap Ninjas too? Yes! Awesome!
Oh, hey, Miss Johnson. No, I haven't seen Doug. Actually, I dumped him. Yeah, I found out that he cheated on me with one of his coworkers. I know, right? He's such a b-hole.
So if you or someone you know has been cheated on, give us a call. What are you waiting for?
But wait, there's more. Right. Sorry, I couldn't resist. All right. So, yeah, the Grand Theft Auto packet. Right. Here's the thing. Revenge. This is such a popular thing that people took great lengths to do stop motion, like just to make fun of the idea. Okay. But that's a reality. That's a reality in our culture. All right. You do something to me, you defame me, you hurt me, you do something, I'm going to do something back. It's my moral obligation to hurt you, all right? That's a step in the world's path. Another one is pride. And most arguments start here. You made me feel bad, you made me look bad or whatever, so your pride rises up and becomes ugly. Lying, okay? Lying, here's the thing about lying. It's kind of like always having money in your pocket to get you out of a jam, okay? Because it doesn't cost you anything, right? As long as you're like quick on your feet, you can come up with a lie, right? And it's like there's always an endless supply, all right? If you find someone that tends to lie about a lot of stuff, guess what? You can expect more. You can expect a lot more of that because that's just one of those things. Once people begin to use that as a defense, it just becomes a lot easier to just keep shoveling it out, keep shoveling it out, keep shoveling it out. It's easy to use. There's an endless supply. Jealousy. Who are you talking to? Why didn't you answer my phone call? Who are you texting? Why have you been out so late? Always worrying about the other person for some reason or another. All right? There's a lot of things that get bundled up into that, but jealousy is another big one that comes out of just the general worldly idea in relationships. Lust. Listen, pornography is a big deal, all right? And we can't pretend anymore like this is only a guy thing, okay? Statistically, 9th grade and above, every single one of you has viewed some kind of pornographic image, guys, and half of the girls, 50%, okay? It's a very real thing. And here's the thing you need to know about relationships when it comes to pornography. We're going to talk about this more later on, but guess what? When you get married, your spouse is not going to be airbrushed. Your spouse is not going to be paid to fulfill all of your little fantasies. All right? Your spouse is not going to be, her primary purpose is not going to be for your satisfaction. Okay? But the world would teach us that that's what we should expect. We want that kind of person. You know, I've heard the term so many times, you know, wanting, you know, this a really nice person, like, in general life, but then when it comes to like, you know, sexual stuff, like you want a freak, you know? It's like, that's what I want. I want the best of both worlds. Listen, that's not reality. You're not gonna find that. But the world will tell you that's what you need to look for. And unfortunately, pornography has this crazy way of just defeating our own selves in relationships because we begin to get used to that kind of stimulation, that kind of enjoyment, that kind of certain things and self-pleasuring kind of comes along with that, okay? And we begin to be conditioned to being able to take care of it ourselves. And here's the problem. Your spouse is not going to be able to do that like you do it. And so then you begin to look at her or look at him and be like, why can't you do it like I can do it? Well, duh. But instead of finding enjoyment in them, you found enjoyment in yourself for so long, you don't even know how to find enjoyment in them. And so everything just kind of spirals out of control. And even to begin down that road has huge implications for the later days in marriage. So it's something we can't just brush off and be like, oh, it's no big deal. I'm not hurting anybody else. It's just me. That's exactly who you're hurting, and you're setting yourself up for failure later on down the road. Again, this is not just a guy problem. This is girls too. And not just like the visual stuff like 50 Shades of Grey and all these other, like just relationship porn. We've talked about this stuff before too. Like the deal that like I'm going to find the bad boy and I'm going to make him an amazing guy, and he's going to be, all like suits and, buying me all this nice stuff. Like those things, and we buy that. And you goes look at that, and you're like, you dream of the day when you find that diamond in the rough, and you're going to polish him up, and you're going to make him all nice and pretty. Or you're just going to find that perfect guy who just knows everything about you and every single thing. It's like he knows instantly everything that you desire. That's all our media is. Every romantic comedy is geared for that. To make you think that that's what's normal. And the more we ingest in that, the more we believe in that that's reality, the more we set ourselves up for failure in an actual marriage committed relationship. Even in dating, we set ourselves up for failure. But it all stems from lust. From all about me. From what I can do to meet my needs. Okay? The last thing is worry. Am I good enough? Am I nice enough? All right? Am I hot enough? All right? Am I muscular enough? Or what? Am I funny enough? What are we going to talk about? What if he tries to touch me? What if she won't let me touch her? Right? Everything kind of spirals into this kind of thing about relationships, and we overanalyze every single thing. And listen, these are just a few of the elements. This is not a comprehensive list. These are just a few things. But the sad thing is, they're so normal that we don't even see them as bad anymore. Like none of us are thinking, I mean, sure, when we're like, well, yeah, that's terrible. But none of us think oh, why would that be? We all just accept that as part of normal when it comes to relationships now. We see it as a normal part because it's been such a part of our culture and relationships and what the media has shoved down our throats for years and years, that we begin to believe that that's really all there is. That's the only option that exists for us. We have to navigate our way as best we can through that framework. Through all the revenge and the pride and the lying and the jealousy and all the lust and all the worry and all the different stuff that comes. We have to try to navigate through all of that to find a relationship and hold on and pray for dear life that it actually works. But that's not the way it actually works. That's not the way God has designed it to work. Listen, God's path is drastically different. We're going to hit these real quick. Jesus says, resist revenge. Okay? Be humble. All right? Live at peace. Love your enemies. Forgive. Trust. I wish we had time to go through all the scripture for all this different stuff, but I'm running out of time here. But the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5 through 7, the whole thing is like, you have heard it said this. But I tell you this. That whole chunk of scripture is about God saying, listen, I know this is the common going thing, but I have a different plan. Settle differences quickly. Turn the other cheek. Love your enemies. Of course, the golden rule, Matthew 7:12. Do unto others what you'd like for them to do for you. We've all heard that. But here's the biggest thing, and this is where we're going to land tonight. And this is what I want you to hear, okay? On all of that, here's the most important part. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. You can enter the kingdom of God only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. Let's keep going. This is 7:24 through 27. Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents, and the floodwaters rise, and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. That's what Jesus is saying. Listen, wide, foolish, building a house on sand. None of us would be like, yes, that's what I want. Please destroy my life. I hope my life gets wrecked and like messed up in the biggest way. I want to be a fool. I want to be someone that takes the easy route. That's none of us. But you have to choose. It's one or the other. There's no middle road. It's a wide, easy path, a narrow, difficult path. So which path will you follow? Thanks, Nate, but I think I got it. It's not going to cut it, right? That makes you Mr. Arrogant, okay? God himself comes down and says, I have designed relationships. I know every inner working of it. I'm going to give you specific directions on how this is going to work, and you're going to tell me, no thanks, I'm 15, I've got it figured out. Thanks a lot. Good luck with that. You know what's going to happen? You're going to wake up one day when you're 40, when you're divorced, when your kids are a wreck, and you're wondering where you went wrong. That's pretty bold. Don't wait till then to go, you know what? I got it all wrong. Don't wait till then. Statistically, that's what happens more than half of the time. Even in Christian relationships, okay? Good Christian people still try to operate their relationships by the world's values and end up with the world's results. And they're going, how did we get here? We're good Christian people. Because God gave specific designs for how it's supposed to work. So what's the secret to protecting your future marriage? Learn to follow Jesus' steps. Did you catch where it was narrow? It was difficult. It was hard. It's countercultural. It's not normal. You're going to stand out. It's going to be difficult. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have to make the hard call more than once. That's part of it, okay? But the thing that's awesome about it is that God has promised His Holy Spirit. As believers, He's put Himself in us to enable us to be able to make those hard calls, to be able to make the right decisions. The same power that raised Jesus Christ from the dead, okay, bringing a body back to life. No one's ever seen that kind of power, but it's available inside us to make the right decisions that we need to make. So it's possible, but we have to choose to make those choices. This all sounds great, but what are the steps for dating, Nate? You haven't even got there yet, and don't worry, because we're going to get there next week. But we had to start here. You have to understand first that it's not just a list of rules of do's and don'ts, and this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. This comes from the groundwork of the master of relationships has said, this is what I have designed and how I've designed it to work. And as a result, here's how it's going to work best. Can you do it another way? Absolutely. Can you have an idea of what results you're going to find in that process? Absolutely. Because they're predictable. It's very straightforward, but it's the truth. I've lived it. Talk to any adult. We've lived it. Anytime you try to take relationship outside of the design God has designed for it, it will always end in heartbreak, disaster, hurt, pain, things that could have been avoided, okay? I'm not saying that to be like, you're all like evil people, all right? That's not the deal here. The deal is to understand that there is a way. We're going to talk about that way the next 2 weeks. But we have to start from the ground point of this has come from someone who designed it and has a plan, okay? Let's pray and then we're done. God, thank you for your word. Thank you for this truth. God, thank you that you didn't just leave us to mindlessly roam through life, wondering if we can have the type of relationships that you've designed for us to have. God, you've been very specific about it in the Bible, and I'm excited over the next couple weeks to be able to look at that, really unpack what that could really look like. God, but I pray for tonight, God, and for this week especially, as we go through the rest of this week, that you would just remind us again and again and again, God, that there's the world's way and there's your way. And that we have the choice in every single situation, in every single relationship, with every single person, with every single encounter, with every single conversation, with every single trip to the computer, with every single time we open our phones, with every single engagement with friends. God, in every situation, we make a choice that's going to lead us to the end result that we may or may not have wished for our ultimate marriage relationship. God, and help us to realize that in every situation, we're choosing to take the small steps that will get us to that desired goal. And help us to be bold, help us to make the hard calls, help us make the right decisions, the tough decisions, the ones that hurt a little bit sometimes, but ultimately we know are the right decision. God, help us to continue to as a collective group of believers, to encourage each other, God, and to lift each other up and make it easier for each one of us to continually make those correct decisions as well. God, we love you, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.